know the spotlight's obviously on a guy like Kurtz this year around the league, just based on what he did last year. It's obviously still super early. Seems like he's making hard contact and drawing walks. Obviously the hits aren't falling, but how have you done kind of evaluate him just early on here at the plate?
Yeah, I mean, the strikeouts are up a little bit, but they're up for us as a club. So for Nick, I think, you mentioned the walks are a good positive sign. The contacts, he's barreled a couple balls. They've probably been hit really high, take some loft out of it, and it probably goes over the fence. But he's still, I think as a group, they're still finding their way. It eventually will level itself off, I think. But looking at the the lineup and some of the data this morning that guys are in the 40s in strikeout percentage, which is not sustainable. And I think that as a group, they're aware of that, and we know what we have to do offensively to make progress, really.
Wilson, another guy who's chased quite a bit this year just based on the numbers. The approach with him, have you seen it kind of the same with him, or do you kind of see his early season so far?
Yeah, I think the approach is the same. And you're right, there's more chase to start the season in these first 8 games from Jacob. Jacob can barrel any pitch. We've seen that consistently last season. So we knew, in terms of shrinking the zone, I think that's important for us as an offense, and doing a better job of swinging at pitches in zone versus pitches out of zone. Sometimes if you get in swing mode, it's tough to dial it back. And I know that as a group we preach aggressiveness, but it's aggressive to a zone that you're ready to hit in.
Yeah, we noticed in the first few games of the season a couple of things from him. First, the range, it seems has improved a lot. And secondly, something that we talked about last year, he worked hard on that, running from home to first base. It's noticeable, especially the day they lay out the bunt.
Mm-hmm.
How much better of a player you think he is right now, polishing those two aspects of his game, the range and that speed?
Well, defensively, I agree with you in terms of reaction distance is kind of what StatCast talks, the way they formulate first step really, and how much ground you get to cover, and I think we've seen an improvement in that, as you talked about. Bobby has worked really hard with Jacob and the whole group with being able to anticipate, being able to read pitches in zone, first step kind of mentality to make those improvements for Jacob in terms of overall speed. I still think he's not reached his physical abilities in terms of strength. So, and speed is a part of that strength that I think will increase. And as you talked about, the numbers have supported that.
Yes, and the other thing, last night we saw Hernais there playing right field. I thought I had seen him a few times last year, but he says that's the first time ever, and that he practiced a lot in spring training. How important is to have that player that is so valuable in the infield, also capable to help you out a little bit in the outfield?
It's really valuable for Daryl to be able to go out there for us. We can do a lot of things with the roster late in the game, with Daryl being able to play short, play second, play third, and now play the outfield. So he didn't get a ton of work because he was with the Puerto Rico team in the WBC, where he became a Puerto Rican legend. But we feel confident that we've seen him a couple times out there make some plays. The more he's out there, the more confidence he'll get. But definitely a valuable tool for Daryl and for us as a club.
Scott, when you were playing, how did you guys get better at swinging at good pitches, and how do they do it now?
Well, yeah, that's the $1 million question we're trying to answer.
Can you practice that?
You absolutely can practice it. You know, the tool that majority of organizations have now, called Traject, is one way of getting in there and seeing pitches that now can be, you know, dialed in to as close as they can get it to what you're going to see in game, and work on in zone, out zone with the setup now. For us, I think it's more about, you know, their ability, because they've done it, so they have to rely on the experience. They have to go back to an approach, right, which is a mindset of when they're going to attack fastball, when they're going to attack fastball to the pull side versus fastball to the middle of the field, and giving themselves a little more time. You know, how do you create more time? Those are all, you know, great questions that I think we can all respectfully have our own opinions in you know, as hitting coaches and as players, like, you know, but for me it's really about you know, hunting an area that you're confident in, and you know, taking a guy like today with McCullers, he's throwing more changeups. Like, you better get the ball up. You better have an approach to the middle of the field, you know, to have success off someone that's going to utilize that pitch effectively, which he did his last start. I think saw 9 strikeouts. You know, he's changed his repertoire a little bit and had found success in his first outing. I'm sure there's a lot of confidence. We had mass together today, which was great. So I prayed for a lot of hits. I'm sure he prayed for a lot of strikeouts.
Prayed for a lot of mistakes. Is there a drawback to that trajectory at all?
Well, we don't have Traject, so I'm not sure. I have heard drawbacks in terms of it being too hard. That if you really set the dial at 98, 98 off the Traject is like, yeah, it's more difficult than in the batter's box. In some ways, that's a good thing, you know, because then maybe the game slows down and maybe it's easier. But yeah, we're yet to get that system and have the ability to work off of it.
Yeah, and you know, on opening day, you had not only a sellout, but that game and opening day is the day that the Athletics have drawn more fans ever than here in the stadium. Then you came back yesterday, and the numbers were close to that. Are you impressed with the way the fans are welcoming the Athletics in the start of the second year here?
I wouldn't say impressed. I would say very, you know, thankful that they're coming out. You know, yesterday was a really cool day to see the yellow jerseys throughout the stadium. You know, and to have a jersey that's, you know, honoring, you know, their city, and they're very prideful. You know, in that they all came out and wanted to take part in it, and wanted a jersey to display throughout their city.